Hello, welcome back to the You at Your Best podcast. For this episode, I think I'm just going to talk about anxiety and what I've been through whenever it comes to my anxiety, and then also how I've healed from it and how connecting with my soul and really finding my feminine self has helped me overcome so much anxiety, and how motherhood has helped me overcome anxiety. So I know that a lot of people really struggle to go out and do things. They have a lot of anxiety, and I'm right there. In the past, I've been the type of person who, for as long as I can remember, I've really struggled with anxiety. And something that has specifically been really hard for me is going out and doing things in public by myself. I get so anxious. For me, it's mostly social anxiety that causes it. I just feel like everyone is watching me. I feel so uncomfortable, and it makes me feel really... I'm autistic too, and I know I talk about this in so many of my episodes, but I start to mask even more whenever I go out in public by myself, and I find it really hard to just relax and enjoy myself, especially if I don't have like one of my senses, I guess, being less overwhelming. So like if I could do everything blindfolded, I wouldn't be as overwhelmed. Or if I could do everything with, like, if I had like an option to turn the volume down on my ears. So something that I really do is I like to use earbuds whenever I go out by myself. Honestly, I don't go out by myself a lot. Some people, their anxiety is as bad as mine, to the point to where you could possibly have a panic attack. And in that instance, you don't have to put yourself through situations that would cause that much anxiety right away. Some people have a little bit of anxiety and they can just deal with it. And then some people have full-on panic attacks whenever they are so overwhelmed and anxious. And I can say that healing has really helped me overcome my anxiety. I've noticed that as an adult, and especially after having my baby, I have just been really good at not really caring, I guess. After having a baby, it really made me realize that there's so much out in the world that doesn't matter. So much that I was worried about that just isn't important. Like other people's opinions of me. Specifically, that's probably the biggest thing that I was always so worried about. And having a baby just made me realize that her and my family are really the only things that matter. Well, they're not the only things that matter, but they are the most important things. And I'm going to cherish myself and my family first over anything. So I really don't care as much. And genuinely, I am at a place where I don't care what other people think about me. And yeah, I'm human, so sometimes, obviously, I have times where I will notice that I'm starting to get an overwhelming feeling that other people are judging me, specifically on social media. And whenever that happens, I know that right there is a sign that I just need to take care of myself more. I need to take a break. I need to stay off of social media. I need to go do yoga or do a face mask or go for a ride or blast music in my ears while I'm doing the dishes. But overcoming anxiety has been probably the best thing that has ever happened to me. I know a lot of people don't deal with anxiety, so they don't really know what it's like, but growing up, I would have panic attacks all the time, and I remember I would have panic attacks over things, and people would be so confused, and they would just be like, why is she freaking out? People would, in a way, I feel like, think that I was so weird because of it, because they didn't understand why I couldn't just stop the anxiety. And why I couldn't just, like, just calm myself down, I guess. And I get why people felt like that because they never really experienced it. But whenever you're someone who already deals with the anxiety to begin with and you already feel so stupid because of everything that's happening, it can really feel so, it's lonely because it feels like no one really understands. And if you are in the middle of having a panic attack, you genuinely feel so dumb, and all you want to do is run and hide because you can tell that everyone is judging you and everyone thinks that you're literally like going crazy. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people who don't really understand. And I remember having one time in high school, my freshman year, I found out that I had chorus, I think that's what it was, chorus or choir or something like that, as one of my classes. And I just had a straight up panic attack whenever I found out. And I was in there talking to the teacher because I was just so overwhelmed. She told me that we were going to have to go into a separate room with just her and sing with her. And then she would have to figure out the type of singer that we are. And I'm not a good singer at all. But the way that my high school did it was they just kind of put you in random classes sometimes because we didn't really have a lot of options. So after that, I just had my mom and I went out into the hall and I just burst into tears because I was so overwhelmed. And for me, whenever I would have panic attacks, it wasn't like physical symptoms, as in like I felt sick. It was more like my heart was racing. I just felt so out of control. And I'm starting to tear up talking about it right now. But my heart would start racing and I just couldn't stop myself from crying. And on top of that, whenever I cry, my face gets so red. So everyone can tell that I'm crying, even 45 minutes after I just got done crying. So I remember one of my friends, after she heard about it, I could tell that she didn't understand. And she was just kind of like, well, why is she freaking out? Why is she crying? Like, just calm down. And I felt so stupid because I was like, yeah, I should be able to just calm down. Why can't I? And whenever everyone else is around you, kind of judging you, it makes you feel more alone. So as I got into college, my anxiety was so bad that I was too scared to go to the library and sit. And I eventually overcame that and I made myself do it. But then it got to the point to where I would only go to the library. I was too scared to go to certain places. Like once I got comfortable in one area, I couldn't go anywhere else. So like I only went to one spot of the library and I didn't explore or try to go to other places. I just went to that one spot every single time. Or I would go to the bathroom and sit for hours doing homework. And I know that that's so gross to some people. And I know that some people would probably see me going in the bathroom and then like 2 hours later coming out and they would be so confused. But I just felt so safe in there by myself. And whenever I was around a bunch of people, it was so hard. And I remember one time in college, I had a group presentation and I was so scared. And whenever we all got together and we practiced, and actually they all made me feel a lot better because I was very expressive about my anxiety. The thing about me is if I talk about it, it helps me feel better. And I know some people really get annoyed whenever I talk about it, but in the moment, that's what I need to do to calm myself down. And I'm aware of that. I just need to feel like people have my back and people understand. So I talked to them about how anxious I was and we practiced, and at first it was really hard for me to do it. And then one girl offered me one of her anxiety meds and I took it because I was just so overwhelmed. I had no idea what it was, but I was just so scared, freaking out so much that I didn't care anything would help. I didn't care if she was drugging me at that point. I just wanted my anxiety to go away. And it did. Like, it helped a lot, but I think the main thing that really helped was that I talked to them about it, and all of them made me feel so much better. And whenever I practiced my part, they're like, you did so good. You have nothing to worry about. Like, you did your research, you know what you're talking about. To be honest, the research on that project wasn't the best because I was researching that I didn't give a shit about. But it did make me feel a lot better and a lot less overwhelmed. But I just remember my whole life, I've always had panic attacks. I've always been so anxious over things, and it makes me, every time I talk about it, I just get so emotional because like now as an adult, as someone who has healed a lot from that, I feel so bad because of the shame that comes with having so much anxiety around people who really don't understand it. And my mom, she really understood it. She was like so, I guess her and I were so close that she could just look at my face and she knew that I was about to cry. She's the only person even now that can do that. My boyfriend is pretty close, but he's still not as observant as my mom is whenever it comes to that. And I think it's because I'm her kid and she had to take care of me my whole life. But she could tell whenever it was about to get bad just by looking at my face. No one else could tell. No one else knew that something was happening. But my mom, she always knew. And I could just look at her for a second and then she would be like, what's wrong? And I used to get irritated at it because I was like, nothing is wrong. But I understand now that it's just because she loves me so much. And her and I are so connected that she really notices those things so easily. And that's something to be so grateful for. But my mom has always been aware of my anxiety. I've had to go on anxiety meds multiple times throughout my life. They didn't really ever seem to work. And I realize now I think it's because a lot of my anxiety came from being neurodivergent, and what I needed was ADHD meds rather than anxiety meds and antidepressants. And I think being neurodivergent really added to the anxiety, just growing up being so confused all the time, not really knowing how I'm supposed to act or anything like that. But I really wanted to share some of my experience whenever it comes to my anxiety, because I think a lot of people just don't understand what it's like. And I get it, like if you don't experience it, if your brain isn't wired that way, then obviously it's not going to make much sense to you. But I just really want more people to be aware of what's going on so that maybe they don't make their friend who is dealing with severe anxiety or even panic attacks feel more alone. Because people really made me feel like that a lot just because they didn't understand. And I don't blame them. I'm not angry with them. I'm not angry with that friend that from the story before. I just really want to share that and spread awareness about that. But into adulthood, whenever I went to college, it was absolutely terrifying. And I only shared a little bit of it, but I spent most days, like, sometimes I refused to get out of the car. I would just sit in the car for hours until my next class. Sometimes I would sit in the bathroom. Sometimes I would sit in the car and just sit there. I had to pee so bad, but I couldn't get up and go because I was just so anxious about everything. Just sitting in class made me so anxious. I almost had panic attacks multiple times every single time I would sit in class. And this is actually the reason why I don't know if I'll be able to go back to college, because it's just so hard. And I'm at a place now where my anxiety is starting to become non-existent, which I'm so grateful for. And maybe I'll get to a place to where I can go back to college. And I think I honestly, with everything, I have really got to a place to where I think I would be perfectly fine in college. But a lot of my family doesn't understand why I won't go back, and that's the actual reason. I don't really like to talk about it because my whole life people made me feel like there was something wrong with me because of it. So I don't really want to talk to people about how bad it actually is, so most people don't know. But now that I am older and I had a baby, and having a baby matures you in so many ways, you literally become a different person. It's so weird how just adding a child to your life literally changes everything about you in the best way possible. And I lost so much anxiety whenever she was born. Like, obviously at first, whenever she was in the NICU, it was really hard. I talked about that in my first episode. But here lately, really diving into my feminine and finding authenticity without worrying how other people will respond or react, feeling like I don't need to over explain myself, and really taking the time to figure out who I am and what I love without judgment, without worrying how this one person might think about the way that I'm acting or what I do. And that has really helped, just allowing myself to be me without expecting myself to be perfect for everyone else or for specific people who expect me to fit into this certain box. I spent a lot of my life being scared to disappoint people and being a major people pleaser. And looking deep into my soul and noticing who I am and what makes me me, that's what's really helped. And a lot of people who deal with people pleasing or severe anxiety or panic attacks, they know how hard it is to be authentic. And I just want to say, like, to any of those people, you're never going to be happy if you keep on pushing yourself and overdoing it and trying to be everything everyone else wants you to be or what you think other people want you to be, trying to walk on eggshells so that you don't disappoint certain people. You're never going to find you. And sometimes we end up disappointing or hurting people on accident. And if that happens, you need to understand that it happened for a reason. And obviously we don't want to hurt or disappoint other people, but in order to find your authenticity, you have to allow yourself to be yourself, even if those people are angry about it, or even if those people want you to be something and you try so hard to be it. You have to really look within yourself and be whatever it is that you want to be. And for me, becoming a mother really helped me into my feminine. I just feel so connected to my feminine spirit, and I feel like I am finally happy. I'm finally at a place in life where I can say that I genuinely and am content and happy. Also, my baby's playing with her toys right now, so if you hear a bunch of noise in the background, that's what that is. And the way that I really found myself and have really connected with my soul, and I still have a long way to go. We're never done healing as human beings, but the way that I have really got to this place, and I know I will get even better and better as time goes on. I don't have everything that I want. I don't know if I ever will, but I know that what I have right now is good enough. And I allow myself to enjoy fantasizing about the things that I want, because you're always going to get what you want. The more you think about it, the more it comes into life, because you subconsciously make it happen. The more you talk about it, the more your partner, even, especially as a woman or a feminine person, your partner will naturally start to want that too. The more you talk about it in a way that's expressing your desire and not in a way that kind of criticizes them. And it really allows you to just enjoy what you have, because you're not sitting there thinking about how you can't have something. You know that you can have what you want, and you know that it will come to you, so you can just relax in the present and relax in what you currently have, because you know that down the road you will have everything that you desire. And a lot of people think it's bad to desire things, but it's not. It's a huge part of connecting to yourself. And for me, my anxiety has gotten to the point to where it literally has disappeared. And yeah, there are times at work sometimes where I get so overwhelmed and so anxious, and my social anxiety is still very present. But I just remind myself, like, these are not my people. A lot of the people at work, they're not really the type of person that I want to be, so why do I care so much what they think about me? Because it doesn't matter. What matters is who I want to be. And a lot of these people, they're very unkind people who have a very basic outlook on life. It's very black and white, and that's not me at all. That's not who I want to be. That's not who I'm going to be in the future. So I remind myself, like, these people literally do not matter in my world. Of course they matter. They're human beings. All human beings matter. But in my world and in my existence, their lives and their opinion of my life does not matter. Because I don't have a connection with them and I don't want to. Honestly, it's a blessing whenever people at work isolate me just because they think that I'm weird or whatever it is. It's a blessing that I don't have to deal with all of their negative energy. It's a blessing that I get to be alone and be content in my energy and content in what I have, knowing that as soon as I go home, I'm going to be back in my life that I absolutely love. And I'm lucky enough to only have to work weekends. So only 2 days a week. And I get off around 1:30 p.m. anyways, so I have the rest of the day to just live in my actual reality. And not to say that I want to completely turn my brain off and completely be out of the moment whenever I'm at work, but sometimes just reminding myself that work is not my life. That really helps, and I know a lot of the time it really is a coping mechanism to cope through the things that are really hard. And maybe I should just quit my job and just go ahead and do what I want. But a part of me fears that if I quit my job, we won't be able to afford rent. And truth is that probably will happen. And yeah, of course, I love to think about my desires, but I also want to be realistic. And I know that right now I cannot quit my job. It's not a possibility. So instead, whenever I'm at work, I try to focus on me. I listen to podcasts, and work is also a blessing because I have podcasts to listen to. I have time away from my baby. I love her to death, but being at home with her and taking care of her, it can be really exhausting sometimes. So work gives me a break from that. And also, work has taught me how to overcome my anxiety. Work has taught me how to communicate with people in the neurotypical way because I've really observed my coworkers and really observed how neurotypical people communicate with each other, and I've gotten to a point to where I think I understand it. I really just want to say that if you're an anxious person and you have a lot of anxiety, you can take anxiety meds, of course, if that's what works for you. But I know for a lot of us that doesn't work and it doesn't help, and being on meds for the rest of our life doesn't sound appealing. So the best thing that you can do is just really find ways to connect with yourself. Do more self-care. Take more time to do what you actually love. Take time to fantasize about the life that you want. Because I promise you, fantasizing about the life that you want will only make you appreciate the life that you have more whenever you know that you're going to get what you want in the future. Be grateful for the people in your life. Show gratitude to people. The more you show gratitude to the things that are around you, the more it trains your brain to be more grateful. And all of these are ways to connect with yourself, which help you get rid of your anxiety. I know some people will say you just have to deal with it. You just have to have anxiety for the rest of your life, and maybe you'll never fully heal. Maybe you'll always have that anxiety, but at least it'll be better. You don't have to suffer for the rest of your life. You can get over anxiety. You can get through it. You can have anything that you want. You don't have to learn to live with anxiety. You can learn to love yourself enough that your anxiety goes away. Just remember that no matter what, you are 100% capable of getting rid of that anxiety and being whoever it is that you want to be. And I want to say that just because other people don't understand your anxiety does not mean that it's not real. Because it is real, and it is something that a lot of people struggle with. It's something that most people in society will never understand. Everyone has anxiety, but most people in society don't know what it's like to have an anxiety disorder. I just want you to know that it is real. Don't let anyone make you think that it's not. Don't let anyone make you think that you're overreacting. Don't let anyone make you feel like there's something wrong with you, because there's not. And there are so many people who experience exactly what you're experiencing, and you are not alone. Trust me. You have the entire world surrounding you, and you are not the only person experiencing what you're experiencing. And for me, that's such a comforting thought. I'm so proud of me, and I'm so proud of you. Whoever's listening to this, if you struggle with intense anxiety, whatever it is, if it's social anxiety, general anxiety, if you have panic attacks, I'm so proud of you for going through life with something that is so hard. Because that is something that it's, for me, the hardest thing that I have ever gone through in my entire life has been anxiety. And looking back and thinking back to that will always make me emotional because of how hard it was. And I was so strong, because no normal person can feel that anxiety and still go through life, still force themselves to do things. But I did, and so did you, and that's amazing. So be proud of yourself, and remember that just because other people don't understand doesn't mean that it's not valid. Your feelings, your emotions, what you go through in life, even if the people in your current life don't understand, there are millions of people in the world. Someone will. There are millions of podcasts out there of people talking about anxiety and what it's like to go through it. People talking about what it's like to go through every single thing that humans go through. And you can find it. You can literally go on Spotify and search up the exact issue, and a bunch of podcasts will come up. That's the amazing thing about the world that we live in today. We're not so alone. And it really helps us realize that as human beings, all of us are so similar. And realizing that what human beings go through and what you go through is completely, I don't want to say normal, because it's not the norm to have such severe anxiety, but it is normal. And it's okay to go through it. It is something that many people struggle with and many people go through, and you're not alone. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for listening. I've been feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and I remember I promised myself in my now second episode that I will take care of myself before I put out episodes, so I may not put out one next week because I've been feeling really overwhelmed, and I need to take the time for me. I need to take the time to do some self-care and get back into my authentic feminine headspace. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. See you either next week or the week after, or even the week after that. I don't know.